Thank you so much for bearing with me.
Thank
So
you,
I've
sir.
taken a lot of time.
No, sir, we
Okay.
can understand. It's just a technical
Yeah,
glitch.
yeah, I know. It was just a power failure and everything just went out.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Anyway, so sorry for the delay. And uh, today, thank you. First of all, I would like to thanks Dr. Ranjit for giving me an opportunity to present my uh, lecture on the our own research that which is related with the lip print classification, and the title is revisiting various classification system of lip prints. So in this case, we all understand that lip prints are very important for particularly for the personal identification. So whenever required, we can whenever the fingerprints are not working, we can use them as an alternative uh, for personal identification. I am not going much in detail about this. Okay, so all we know about the forensic significance of lip print. Okay, so they are unique as fingerprints. It was means, but as if we go by the myth, so it will look like that they are changeable, but only the superficial skin is changing. Otherwise, they are the wrinkles and the you can say they will remain the same. Okay, so whenever they grow again, they will be growing just like fingerprint in the same patterns. Okay, so that is one thing. So there are certain things which are coming in between. One of my students were working on it, and she has a she and we together form another system of a classification, because when we are working and analyzing the lip prints, it was creating a problem. Means there was issues like we are using Sushiasi and Suzuki and Sushiasi classification broadly. So it is not perfect as it should be, because some of the prints could not be you can say classified because of the certain limitation we will be discussing uh, in this presentation. So to facilitate and use it as a more effective tool for personal identification, we try to give another set of an alternate set of classification. So which will be covering because this particular lecture, whatever I am discussing in this lecture, it will be based on a blind trial given to two of my students. Around 300 sample I have given to them, and then they have compared these lip prints with respect to all the existing classification system, and we could reach to the conclusion that they are one really great in a way that whatever we have developed and we have published in the Egyptian journal, so that is coming up the best. Okay, so just I will start with this. In 1967, Martin Santos has devised a classification in which he has you know divided the single types and composite types, and then in the single type he has mentioned there can be a straight lines, curved lines, angled lines, and sign shaped lines, and there can be a bifurcation, trifurcation, and irregular. Okay, so he has mentioned about little bit about the curved and angled lines. Okay, then in the next in 1970, another classification system which we are using till today is formulated by Suzuki and Sushiasi. So they have classified and given type 1, type 1 dash, type 2, type 3, and 4 and 5. Okay, so and they have mentioned that there can be a complete vertical, incomplete vertical, or partial vertical, you can say, or there are branched, intersected, or reticulate. And the last one is the undetermined. If it is not falling in any of the category, then that can be placed in a undetermined category. So they have not talked about anything about the only they have talked about the verticals. Okay, so these are the classification given by Suzuki and Sushiasi. You can see this. This is type 1. This is an incomplete vertical. Then there are bifurcation. Now, in this case, they have mentioned that, the bifurcation can be, if it is on the upper lip, it will be on the upper side. And if it is on the lower lip, it will be on the lower side. Okay, so this is another few, the 3 and 4, 5 types, okay, which they have mentioned. Now, another set of classification which was given by in 1973 by Renault. Okay, so they classified prints into 10 types. You can see that. So in this case, more or less the things are same, but he have mentioned about the horizontal. Now, this is another, it's a important to note that Suzuki and Sushihashi has not mentioned about anything about the horizontal wrinkles, whatever they are existing in the lip prints. Okay, so they have made a little better understanding. Means they have mentioned about the horizontals, and other forms they have mentioned, like triangles can be there, ellipse shapes are also there. So that has been mentioned by Renaud in 1973. Okay, other things remain the same, but in 1975, a new classification system similar to the made by Suzuki and Sushihashi was designed by Domingos and their workers in 1975. So they observed that type 2 in Suzuki and Sushihashi was not always dividing on the upward, as I have shown in the figure, that they have mentioned only if it is present in the upper lip, then it will be dividing only on the upward direction. And if it is present in the lower lip, then they are dividing only on the lower side. Okay, but they have made a point that it can be on the, if it is present in the upper lip, it can be branched up on the upward, it can also be branched downward. Okay, so that thing has been added in their classification. And similar is with the lower lip, if it is, it can be divided either on the upper and lower side of the lower lip. Okay, so other more or less the things remain the same. Now in 1979, uh, After and Bayat, they have devised another system of class to classify the lip print, which was based on the 6 types of one A1, A2, B1, B2, C, D, and E. Okay, so what they have done is they have mentioned the vertical and straight grooves covering the whole lip. Okay, another category was the like the former, but not covering the whole lip. Other these groups are there, but they are not covering the whole lip. There is another category which is called straight branched group. Now, in the earlier classification, they have mentioned about the horizontals, but they have not mentioned about the branched groups. Now, they have mentioned about, in this, they have added the straight branched groups and angulated. Angulated, it was mentioned only in the beginning in 1967 by Santos, but that classification was never used. Okay, so because that has been taken over by the Suzuki and Sushihashi, that we still today we are using the same classification system. But in 1979, After Bayat has mentioned about the angulated ridges as well as angulated branched groups. Okay, then they have also mentioned about the first time they have mentioned about the convergence of the groups. Then the reticular pattern, the other patterns are remain the same, but these three have been added to the classification given by Daster and Bayat. Okay, and then in 1999, they have just casually, he has made a great contribution. Just he has taken in only a 10 portion of the lower lip in the center. Okay, so then he divides the whole lip of 10 portion into 4 categories. And besides this, these are the linear, bifurcate, dubbed, reticular, undetermined, more or less the same one. But at the same time, he has Kasparjak has also identified 23 individual characteristics. So which can be used to individualize, just like a minutia in fingerprint. Okay, so they have mentioned about the 23 individual characteristics, which are just, you can just see through it. The one is the eye, looks like a hook, bridge, line, and rectangle. Like rectangle or bridge is more or less the same. Okay, so then the triangle, dots, you can see these. There is a double eye, double bifurcation. So these are the 23 individual feature which he has identified. Okay, we also have worked on these characteristics, and we could find all the 23. Besides the 23, we have identified another 25 which have been given a different names. So that means we have identified, now we have a more than 48 individual characteristics which can be used in in addition to the classification system, so that the every single print of the lip print whenever found at the crime scene, or in case on the on different items, can be classified perfectly. Okay, so this was one of the case when where the first time the this decision of the case was made based on the use of lip print identification. But this was given by this evidence was given by fingerprint examiner and a question document examiner. Okay, so that testimony was decided on the basis of this lip print evidences only. As we have already mentioned that the methodology used in this case was almost similar to the fingerprint identification. So but there was a no dissent in the forensic science community with regard to either the methodology used, or the fact that lip print provide a positive identification. So this case was decided on the basis of this particular evidence. you know oh, First of all, as we all know that there are certain criteria. Okay, why we are mentioning about the no dissent means there is a Daubert criteria, under which there are certain six conditions are there to be any evidence to be admissible in the court of law. So if any particular evidence which fulfill all these six criteria mentioned in the Daubert criteria, so then only it can be means acceptable or admissible in the court of law for making a decision on that. Okay, so this is one of the criteria that it should be acceptable by the scientific community. And this uh, research has to be published in the scientific journal, and means purpose is that it should be accepted by the relevant community, forensic community. Then only it can be used. And one of the another important criteria among the six criteria was that you must know the error of identification. How much is the error of identification? If the error rate is known, then only it can be admissible in the court of law. Okay, so in this Illinois State Police has used this evidence, lip print evidence, like fingerprints, okay, for the positive identification of the individual. And all the decision have been made on this particular evidence only. Of course, there were certain ambiguities found later on. Okay, so that's why this evidence was not means that has to be revisited. Okay, so in this case now, particularly if we talk about our thing, so we have devised a classification system which was based on just like a middle flanges, like we have discussed. It was based on the general shape of the wrinkles and grooves present on the lips and are not able to cover it properly. So whatever the system devised so far, okay, so all are based on the shape of the wrinkles and grooves present in the lips. And there was a need to formulate an alternative system. It was felt. Okay, so we have devised a system. Okay, so in this case, our system was based on not only on the based of the shapes and size of the wrinkles, but attempt has been made to classify and differentiate the lip prints on the basis of inclination, inclination of the ridges, orientation of the ridges, numerical superiority, and coexistence of the diverse forms of print particles. Okay, so initially what we have done is whatever the lip prints are present on the lean zone, okay, that has been divided into 10 quadrants, 5 on the upper lip and 5 on the lower lip. So that approach to identify the person conclusively is if a small, why we have divided into 10 quadrant is purpose is if a small area of the lip get affected by smoking, say for example the central portion, okay, maybe by smoking or by tobacco chewing or by any other pathological condition, if we are able to find any part of it or the partial print is available at the crime scene, that can be successfully classified. That was the purpose. And emphasis has been laid to confirm whether the lip print pattern present in every quadrant shows any dissimilarity and to check whether each pattern exists singly or in combination. Okay, because we have already seen the different fingerprint. Okay, if just to see this fingerprint, okay, you will find there are a lot of other things are there. I mean, it's not that a single pattern is present, but uh, more than one pattern is also present. That's why we have identified uh, the lip print pattern in each quadrant is divided into 7 major categories, which is called the basic pattern, as we are doing in the case of a middle flanges classification. Okay, so and another part is the 43 major categories of the combination pattern, means a patterns types they have been called as a combination pattern when there is a more than one basic pattern is present in a quadrant, then we can divide and call it as a combination pattern. As we have mentioned in earlier that numerical superiority means if there are more than one combination pattern is present, so that means there is a if one particular pattern is occupying more than 50% of the space, then we will be given on the basis of the numerical superiority, we will give the name according to that. Say for example the lines are there, I will be showing you in the next few slides that how we have evolved the combination patterns. Okay, so but that was totally based on the numerical superiority where the more area is covered by a particular pattern, that has been given the first name, and then the area which is covered by another pattern, that has been added second. Okay, so this is how we have prepared the combination. And then all the combination patterns are divided into the categories and subcategories, which are based on not on based on the direction and orientation of the wrinkles forming the specific pattern. Okay, so this is what we have done in the this particular area. So the pattern which are present individually in each quadrant and is having only one type wrinkles are classified as a basic pattern. The nomenclature of the basic pattern was formalized on the basis of general shapes and appearance of the wrinkles present in the pattern. So this is how I can show you that first of all, we have divided, this is the basic pattern one, that is called lines. Lines are straight. Okay, lines are visible. Now the lines can be, it can be straight lines, it can be vertical, it can be horizontal. Now these are the subcategories. Lines, straight, if the subcategories will be either vertical or horizontal. Now another is if the another category is straight, it is not straight, if it is oblique. Okay, so then oblique is whether toward left or the right. Same is to the vertical. Okay, so curves are there. Firstly those curves categorize into vertical or horizontal, then either they are curved towards the left or right. Similarly, if it is horizontal, it can be upward or downward. And similarly, the bifurcation, if it is straight, it can be either upward or can be downward. If it is horizontal, it can be right, it can be left. Okay, similarly, the oblique, the same category, subcategories can be made in this also. just another curved pattern, curved bifurcation, horizontal, and this is how we have done all these things, and we have found out the 7 basic patterns, and then we have made the combination patterns. So whereas in the patterns where the more than one type of pattern is present were termed as a combination pattern. In other words, the combination pattern consists of 2 or more basic patterns. So this is how we have done in this. In this case, the lines and curves. Mostly you will find the lines are more dominant. That's why we have given a superiority, numerical superiority, that lines are more. That's why the line word has been added first and then the curves. Okay, similar is with the other things. Okay, so lines and bifurcations, lines and intersected bifurcation. So this is how we have done. Okay, so and this was the system was devised by us. Okay, and then these are the mixed patterns where there are more than 2 types of basic patterns are there. So then we call it as a basic pattern, mixed patterns. So besides that, we have already discussed that 23 individual features have been given by Kasparov, and in our study we have identified another 25. These are the few things which have not mentioned by the Kasparov. We have added 25 more into it. They are very common, but they have been not been listed in the literature. So we have tried to add 25 more. You can see all these means all these characteristics are now very frequently available. We have tried to identify that just to find out. This is the result of the blind trial we have already mentioned. Now beside this was the earlier work we have done. Now after that we have gone through further extensive study. Okay, so in that case, instead of finding 7 sorry, few more characteristic basic pattern has been added. Now they become the 7. Okay, so these are the lines. It can be vertical, it can be horizontal, it can be oblique, it can be a curves. Okay, so right, left, as we have already discussed. These are the curved bifurcation and inclined bifurcations. So all are there. So there are combinations. We have not included many slides over there. Okay, so then we try to find out the, you can say, the frequency. Okay, each and every this is basically the result of the blind trial, means in which the 200, more than 200, around 300 sample have been given to the students to classify on the basis of different classification system available, in which we could find the maximum prevalence of in individual is bifurcated pattern, which is 48%, and the minimum was the sign shaped pattern. Okay, so this was done with the help of Sento's uh, classification. Except for the curved groove pattern, he had not been explained the criteria of combined pattern, in which the number of different sort of grooves are present in combination, and not even expound the direction of the grooves in a system. So that system is also not sufficient. So in the another system which is based, which is we are using till today. Of course, it looks very odd that any system which we are using for more than 60 years have a limitation and never been addressed. So in this case also, Suzuki maximum prevalence type 2, okay, which is related with the branched pattern, same as we have done in case of Centos. Second most prevalent was the intersected line, and the minimal was the incomplete vertical. This is according to the Suzuki and Sushiyashi system, where we could find that not very convincing. Okay, so the another attempt. I must tell you, this blind trial was conducted by somebody else. Okay, who doesn't know who has framed these classification system. So they just for their dissertation, okay, they are working that they try to find out, classify the prints according to different classifications, and we could find that this was our system was found to be the best. Same is true with the Renaud system of classification, where the maximum prevalence is, as we have already discussed, bifurcated ridges are there. Okay, then horizontal also was the found to be the minimum. Okay, because Renaud was the first to add the horizontal patterns. Okay, so then the result of classification of lip print sample according to Afshar Bayat. Okay, in this case, straight by branched, as we have mentioned in case of that was found to be the maximum, and then the angulated, which was not mentioned by any of the classification system except CentOS. Okay, they are found to be 23.525%. Similarly, Domingos and you know their maximum was branched. Okay, similarly, undetermined was minimum 3.8. Similarly, Casper Jock, okay, so 68.5% bifurcated pattern, and undetermined was 4.95 category. And these are the individual features given by 23 individual feature given by Casper Jack. Okay, so we have on the basis of their prevalence in the different system, we have found determined the frequency. Okay, so this is how we have determined the frequency. These are the feature 25 more features which have been given by the core and Thakkar's classification. So their frequency is also determined. Okay, and these are the findings of our study. Just to sum up, the first ever classification system was categorizing the lip print patterns. CentOS illustrated only the simple linear and angularity of line by depicting the angled and curved lines to form a bifurcation and trifurcation. Nothing has been mentioned about the direction of the groups in this system. Similarly, Sushiasi, we have already discussed, they have just taken, not consider, had hinted that Sushiasi, but we have to go by the Suzuki and Sushiasi. They describe how the bifurcations are further combined to form intersected bifurcation. Although the combined patterns by directional lines, vertical and horizontal, was mentioned in the reticulate system, but nothing was mentioned about the direction of the vertical and branched groups, as well as the occurrence of horizontal lines. Okay, so we have already discussed that Renault, okay, uh, he observed other line of patterns where the direction of the line was mentioned, such as X type or horizontal lines. Okay, few individual features like triangle and ellipse form were mentioned for the first time by the Renault, and nothing was mentioned about the for any possible combinations present in the single lip print samples. Domingos was the first to author these upward and downward branches, which we have discussed in detail. That he was the mention that he can the branches can be on the upper side as well as on the lower side if the ridges are present in the upper lip print. Okay, same is true with the lower lip print. Okay, so he has also mentioned about the converging ridges. And finally, the Kasparjak classified only the central portion of the lip and described all simple shapes of the pattern, but neither the direction of the grooves nor the combination pattern were highlighted. So this is where our system was found to be the best. We have conducted a detailed examination of partial lip prints. Now, as you know, in case of Casper Jack, he has taken only the 10 portion of the center. Okay, if that any of the peripheral part of the lip is recovered from the crime scene, then it cannot be classified. Okay, But in this case, we have divided the whole thing into a 9, uh, quadrants, and any part of the quadrant is can be analyzed individually. They are not dependent on the others. Okay, and we have already discussed that we basic and combination patterns were there, so based on which the things can be done. Now in this case, if we try to find out among the 300 sample blind trials which we have conducted, among that, the lines were found to be this much percent. Okay, out of these categories was straight, and subcategory was this one. So this is how we have uploaded the data related to all the basic patterns, 7. Okay, so then the combination patterns. Okay, these are the combination patterns and total outcome and the frequency we have calculated. 43 combination patterns were found. Okay, now in nutshell, if we try to just compare, I have just taken one example of the 4th quadrant of the lip, okay, and the 7th quadrant of the lower lip. Okay, so they were compared, they were classified. Okay, according to Center's classification, it was found to be irregular. In Suzuki and Sushihashi type 3, in Renault type F, Dominzo type 3, Afterbeat C, Kasperjak N. So if we go by the Core and Thakkar system, it will give you a straight line, vertical, intersecting branch. So similarly, a lot of information can be if we classify the 7th quadrant. So this is how we have got this system. So new system is found to be working very well, not only on the lip prints, and if we have a lip print found, maybe a partial or a fragment of it is found, can be classified on the basis of the new system given by Core and Thakkar. So these are the 25. Another individual features which have been given in our study. Okay, we have calculated the frequency separately. So this is all we have done. So just to conclude, various older classification systems were unable to categorize the combination pattern and direction of the groups in the whole lip. The mixed and combination patterns could only be identified with our system. Moreover, this system was found to be to exclusively classify the composite curved angular patterns. Okay, as the system is entirely based on the structural and spatial arrangement of the lip wrinkles, unlike older system which was solely based on the general shape of the pattern. It was also observed that every successive classification system is a better version of its predecessors in classifying the type of pattern. All minutiae or individual characteristics defined by Kasperjak and the Core and Thakkar system were identified in partial lip print also. So this is how, like fingerprints, we can. The findings concluded that recently formulated classification system based on the individual features like second level details in fingerprints. Okay, classification system present a better way of to evaluate and classify lip prints even when the fragment of the lip print is available from the crime scene. Additionally, the newly employed unique features can be added to the existing Kasperzak individual features for successful evaluation or comparison of lip print evidence in the lab, and goes a long way to help the scientific investigation of crime. Thank you very much.